Welcome back to another episode of the Hattie podcast. And last week was a pretty deep episode. It was actually one of my favorites to speak on and talk about. And it's something that I speak to a lot of clients with often. So if you felt like when you were listening to it last week, it felt a little bit heavy, it is. Like, it's a heavy thing. But this week, we want to take that and we're actually going to do something a little bit lighter, but also something that layers what I talked about last week. And last week was a little bit about embodiment. And it was about that radical self-acceptance and learning how to take this vessel and appreciate it. Go below the surface of what we just see in the mirror. Now, today's topic is around identity. So you could probably hear with around identity and habits and embodiment and behaviors, they all layer. And it's going to be a little bit lighter, I hope. But what I want to do with you today is have a practice. I know that you might be listening to this when you're walking. You might have the dog, you might have the kids, you might be on the treadmill. So if you don't have a pen and paper with you right now, that's totally fine. I hope that you can go back and listen to this in its own time, because you never hear the same thing twice. You never read the same thing twice, which is why it's actually beautiful and better to listen to some of these episodes a couple of times, because what can happen is we get stuck. We grab a moment, we get stuck, we go down the rabbit hole, our thoughts, they expand, these feelings, they overtake, and then we miss kind of the things that come after that sequentially. As you listen to it again, or as you read something again, you start to pick the other things that you need in that moment. So last week, if you were listening to last week and it felt really heavy, I apologize, but one day you'll go back to that episode and you'll be like, this is exactly what I needed. Maybe in that moment, it felt heavy because you're like, this is exactly what I needed. And you can always go back to it. It's a beautiful practice. Self-development is clunky. I talk about this all the time. I did an entire speech on self-development. And this is why I'm so, I can talk about self-development until the cows come home, because the truth is that there's no finish line. That's with developing our bodies. That's with developing our mind. And the thing that I've been writing about so much lately is, and it screams to me because I notice that it's been my experience lately, which is there's a version of you that you haven't even met yet. There's a version of you that is dying to meet you. And so what we're going to do today is we're going to identify, who are we showing up as now in this present moment with all honesty and truth for ourselves? And who is it that we want to show up as? And what we want to get really clear on today is, well, what's the gap? What's the gap of the version of myself that I'm currently practicing? And what's the better version of me that I keep imagining, that I see within my imagination, that I think about all the time, that I want to be enrolled in? Because that version of you, she is there. You see her, you might even feel her, you imagine her. She's there. And I promise you, she is dying to meet you. But the only way that we step into that version of ourselves is when we get really clear of what we're actually doing in this moment. When we get really clear on, well, what does it take to step into her and be her? Because when we talk about being the greatest version of ourselves, which we all do, I do, we don't just magically become her one day. We practice being her through the choices, the behaviors, even the people that we spend our time with. Do they encourage us to be the better version? Do they hold the mirror to the better version? Or do they keep you where they are? And a part of self-development, which is really uncomfortable, is sometimes we outgrow people. And one of the hardest things that I think people outside of us might say to us at some point in our life, it's been said to me many times, and it might come with good intention, but it lands differently for us, which is, don't ever change. Don't ever change. And I remember when one of my boyfriends many years ago, who I was madly and deeply in love with, I remember him saying to me, "Don't ever change." And, there was a part of me that was like, is it because I'm perfect? So far from perfect. But, there was a part of me that was like, oh my God, you love me as I am. And that's a beautiful thing. Like, yeah, there is that piece. But in other ways, it was, please don't change out of this box that feels really good for me. Please don't change this, because what we have is great. And there are parts of us, we've got fixed and growth parts of us. And some of the fixed parts are really powerful. And sometimes they're limiting. And so when we go on this quest on practicing and embodying the better version of ourselves, the version of ourselves that we want to be, that is dying to meet us, we may get met with people on the outskirts, people that are close to us, people that we love and care for, people that we have very strong attachments to, and they might say that those words, don't ever change. I'm like, shit, am I doing the wrong thing? I'm so confused. Like, I thought I was doing all the right things. I'm not drinking anymore. I'm exercising. I'm watching what I eat. I'm tracking my food. I'm moving. I feel strong. I want to be leaner. I want to be fitter. I want to be around for my kids. I want to be, and the list could go on of the positive things that you want to be. Because when you think about the better version of yourself, that's what you're practicing being. And then we get met with people who we care about, or even people that we don't know, because the internet loves to tell you what they think of you too. And then we go, shit, am I doing the right thing? And that can shift our practices. That can, if we don't have enough evidence about ourselves, if we do not have enough trust and self-belief, if we do not enroll ourselves into our vision enough, we can get stuck. We can be met with that tension, and we can stay small. We can stay in their box because that's what makes them happy. Now, that's a dangerous place to be. And it's not that we need to dismiss how they feel either. I often feel like holding compassion for the other person that might be scared that you're evolving, might feel less worthy because you're evolving. What you relate to, what you used to connect with, it's changed. Their system is feeling it too. You might notice that you stop hanging out with the people that want to drink all the time because you don't want to put yourself in that environment where you might notice you don't have enough boundaries for yourself, enough respect for your goal, that you go, no, I'm cool. I'm coming, but I'm just going to have some water. That's for a lot of people, is a lot of tension. And I've been there. And sometimes, even at family events, when everyone's drinking around me, sometimes I go, shit, should I be drinking? Should I, am I being too rigid? Mostly in my adult years, it's like, what's the worst? And then another part of me goes, yeah, but what about your sleep? And what about your training? And look how you feel tomorrow. And you've got so much work on. And I'm met in this middle of where do I want to choose? And the most important thing is honor whatever you choose. Radically own the choice that you make. Because what can happen is we start to resent ourselves when we bend our rules, when we negotiate, and then we start to resent the other people as well. But we can't resent the other people when we've negotiated with our own boundaries, when we haven't held our own wall, held the line for ourselves. And I hope this resonates, and it might resonate with some of you around some of your relationships may have changed. When, I've had a lot of women work with me and then get divorces. Not everyone, but they worked with myself or my coaches and my team, and they stepped into the woman that they told us they wanted to become. We enrolled them into that vision. We helped them create the habits and the identity and the actions. They had evidence on the scoreboard. I am who I say I am. I am that inspiration to my my kids. I am that leader. I lead myself as I lead others. I've minimized drinking. I don't turn to drinking. I don't turn to food. I don't over-exercise. I have a self-care routine that is stable and looks after me. I have standards for myself. And that becomes really tricky because their partner wasn't on the same trajectory. They wanted to stay the same. And there's nothing wrong with that. If you want to stay the same, staying the same is a choice. Don't tell everyone else about your problems. If you want to change, act on them. So let's dive into some of the practices about today. I think you guys get the hint of what it's going to be about. So if you have a pen and paper or even your phone as you're walking on the treadmill, pull up your notes. And I want you to ask yourself, what are the three words that you identify with in what you are practicing right now? What are the three words that you identify with that you are practicing in this present moment, that you are doing? Honestly, truthfully, because this is an honesty policy. This is a moment that we're going to stop. We're going to hold ourselves accountable. We're going to hold a mirror to ourselves and we're going to ask ourselves, what am I really practicing now? Now, I want you to do this in an area of your life that is really important to you, that you want to level up in. Now, in your health and fitness journey, you might say, I am really disciplined in going to the gym. I make it to the gym no matter what. Awesome. You're going to say discipline. But in your nutrition, you might notice that you're cutting a few corners. If you're really honest with yourself, you're like, I'm eating healthy, inverted commas healthy, which is great. But to take yourself to the next level, which is what you truly want, you're avoiding the tracking of your macros. You're avoiding the weighing of your food. You're choosing too much flexibility over a balanced diet. You are maybe eating out a little bit too much. You might be skimping on your sleep. Right? You might be nailing your nutrition, nailing your training, but sleep is where you actually need more discipline. 3 words that you can truly, honestly identify with right now. Write them down. The second thing I want you to write is, write down the identity of the person and version of yourself that you want to become. Write down the 3 words that you identify with the version of you that you want to become. So if you can do this in columns, this is great. And then my next question is, what's the gap? What's the gap between where you are now and what are you practicing and what you are practicing to the version of you that you want to become? The version of you that is dying to meet you. The version of you that you haven't even met yet. What's the gap? You might have a version of you that is really disciplined in one area. Is that the deficit that's stopping you from fully embodying the version of you that you want to become? This is a really beautiful practice because a part of reflection, which separates reflection from rumination, if you girls know the difference, reflection is the ability to take ownership on yourself and really truly dive in and reflect, like acknowledge what you're doing well, but also acknowledge what's leaking how you truly feel. Like when we feel a little bit stuck, right? And stuck's not bad. Stuck is the opportunity to be found. But we often feel stuck when we're like doing a little bit, when we dip the toe in. Right? This is what a lot of people do in their training, right? They might pay for coaching. And they're doing just the bits that feel good. And then they're like, oh, kind of not seeing the result, or oh, I don't feel like what I thought I was going to feel, right? This expectation. I thought I was going to feel like this. Well, The deficit that is increasing this expectation versus standard is you've dropped your standard. You've negotiated too much, right? And it's hard to trust the process when you're negotiating with it all the time. And funny, we see this a lot with coaches who have, a lot of skill and a lot of knowledge, but they negotiate so much because they know how to pull the strings. They've got that skill, but then it just becomes flexibility without responsibility. Then it just becomes flexibility with no discipline. It just becomes flexible. And the goal is to use flexibility as a tool, not as the goal where we're constantly negotiating with all the things. Flexibility is a great tool to use in situations where you should and need to be adaptable. It minimizes the all or nothing, right? And so for some of you who might notice, I'm just really rigid, it's all or nothing. The deficit between where you are and where you want to be is your ability to be adaptable. How do we practice adaptability? Well, we create a new standard of ourselves that perfect is not the only way. It is, can I practice a level of this standard when things aren't perfect? Can we be imperfectly perfect, right? Can we be an imperfectionist? Even if we notice the parts of us that show up and say, you've ruined it, you've fucked it, rattles off the thing, and you go, what can I practice in this moment? It's okay. Okay, I'm going to track my macros. I'm going to add the extra food I ate, and I'm just going to hold the line. I'm going to own the decisions that I've made, and I'm not going to try and take it off the next day because then I just start that loop again. I'm going to own my shit. I'm going to become radically responsible because one of my deficits might be that you might notice is happening is you're blaming everyone else for your circumstances. You might notice that you're putting too much accountability on someone else and not holding any accountability for yourself. So we want to get really clear. How are you showing up right here, right now, in this present moment? And some of you right now might be fucking on. Good for you. Is there an area of your life where you're not? Go to that one. Go into the one you're avoiding. Because you're avoiding it because it's hard. But if we look at the piece of the puzzle and you're like, well, that's the piece that's missing. That's what we want to identify today. Let's lean in because it's hard. What identities do you want to associate with that is the better version of you? Great word is devotion. I want to be devoted. Now, we often hold the word perfectionist over ourselves in the hanger. I'm a perfectionist. I didn't do it because I'm a perfectionist. And I'm like, no, you didn't do it because you're all or nothing. If we look at the true identity of a perfectionist is, I will do absolutely everything at the highest standard that is required of me to make sure that thing is perfect. But perfectionist sounds good because we all want to be a perfectionist. I am not a perfectionist. And I'm okay with that. I like to practice things. I like to have a high standard, but I wouldn't call myself a perfectionist in any way, shape, or form. I'm definitely an imperfectionist. I reach for perfection knowing I'm never going to make it. So we might notice that you might say to yourself, I'm a perfectionist, but if you're really honest, you're like, oh no, I'm just all or nothing. Because if it's not perfect, I don't do it. If the conditions aren't XYZ, you don't do it at all. Now, for a lot of you, the better version of yourself is not being that way. It's the ability to take action in all conditions. It's the ability to say something nice about ourselves in all conditions. It's the ability to practice forward in all conditions. It's the ability to not fear failure. That's a big practice. My next question, so when you've identified what you're practicing now, what the better version of you needs to be, and the gap between the two, is it self-belief? Do you notice that you have quite a fixed mindset around who you think you are, who you know you are, who you'd like to be? How do we deconstruct that belief system? Now, we might have evidence about ourselves that we failed in the past, but guess what? Failing is just a part of learning. And can you look to the things that you failed in and say, well, I could have done this better. I could do this better. I could do this better. If I were to start completely from scratch, what standard would I like to practice right now? That's a really great question to ask yourself. If I could start over right now, what is a standard I would like to practice for myself? One that stretches you a little bit outside your comfort zone of where you are, but you don't beat yourself with because a previous version of you has been able to do that. I often think about that and I'm like, I look to how I used to train and it's so impressive. Like, am I allowed to say that about myself? It was so impressive. I did so much volume and I was so strong. And there's just no way that I could do that. I do not take how I used to train to where I am now and beat myself with it. I'm like, I'm so glad I learned and respected the term get the most out at least. There's no way I could train like that, and I don't want to train like that. I'm so happy with 3 rest days a week. I'm so happy with doing 2 hard sets. That's good for me. And what we can do again in this identity thing is we can identify with a previous version of ourselves or what we could be. When we look to the past, we want to take what we want to practice in future. We don't want to take it and beat ourselves with. Remember all the things that you've ever achieved in your previous version. You can achieve that again, but you could probably do it better because you're wiser now, because you know what the leaks were. You might know that previous versions of yourself, when you made X amount of money or when you looked a certain way, it was very surface level. You had the money in your bank account, you had the body, but you weren't happy. So what's the part that creates the happiness? Is it that you didn't embody the process? It wasn't intentional, that you just tick the boxes? Did you stretch yourself so thin that you had no life? Seasons for that too. But can you do a version of that better? You probably can because you have lessons. My next question is, what is stopping you from becoming that version of her? What is stopping you from becoming that version of her? What is stopping you from taking action on becoming that version, of starting that version? What is the fear? What is the story? What is the story that you tell yourself? Because it might feel and sound really true for you right now when it's stuck in your mind. And it's safe there because that's the jail that we get to live in because there's no one challenging it. It's not till we say things out loud to friends, to coaches, to your partner that you go, I know it sounds silly, but. And then you say the thing. We don't want to call it silly, but we'll say, well, is that really true? What is stopping you from taking action on becoming her? Sometimes it's fear. There's too much fear in the room. Maybe you're over-focusing on the failures, the lessons, the experiences that you had previously. And a common thing that comes out of that is a lot of women will say, I am fatally flawed. No one can help me. Now, that is not true. You're not fatally flawed. We all have our flaws, but you're not fatally flawed. You're not unfixable and you don't need fixing. You're also not that special, I hate to tell you. I used to think I was so special. And I realized I'm not special at all. I just got to fight for my limitations, right? If you fight for your limitations, you get to keep them. This is why this work is so powerful because remember, you can keep your limiting self-beliefs. You can keep your fixed mindset on why you are this way. You can put walls up around other people. You can throw responsibility at everyone else. You can be a victim to your own circumstances. You are totally allowed to do that. You can talk about change and never take action. You're allowed to do that. But then you have to own that you get to keep that. You get to stay the same, but you don't actually stay the same. What you do is you just keep embedding that evidence that you can't change, that no one can help you, that you're fatally flawed, that you're going to be miserable forever. What's the point? And the truth is, both are hard. Said it last week. Hating yourself is hard. Being a victim to your own circumstances is hard. Looking in the mirror, not liking who you are, not liking your body, feeling tired all the time, lethargic, can't look after your kids, run around after your kids, not enjoying getting ready into clothes, no intimacy with your partner. They're hard. They're really hard. Building the body you want, being the better version of yourself, the version of you that's eyeing to meet you. That's also hard too. That's right. Self-development is not the rainbow we see on the internet. It's not the affirmations. It's not the shiny objects. The feeling is fleeting, like motivation comes and goes. Sometimes we go, am I even moving forward? Every level there's a new devil, which means, right, got to sharpen the sword, create the skill, create the shield. Both are hard. Even today, doing this practice, there's going to be a part of you that wants to say the right thing, the perfect thing. And then if you're really honest with yourself, you can put yourself in a position where you go, that's it. Okay. I've been soft on myself. I've been negotiating. A lot of girls use the word lazy. I've been cutting corners. That's a better one to say. No one here, I don't think anyone who listens to my podcast are probably lazy. Yet high achievers love to use the word lazy. I notice I do it too. This is an opportunity, especially if you feel a bit stuck, for you to be found, for you to start again. Get yourself back on the horse. Practice a standard that you can manage for your current season, knowing that seasons change. That's adaptability. That's a great skill to have. That's what most people crave, the ability to be flexible and adaptable in situations. What is stopping you from being her? Now, we all have a version of ourselves in some area of our life where we notice we are scared. We notice self-belief wavers. We notice, putting ourselves out there. Like, I have that. And actually doing the podcast this year has been one of the best things for my self-development. And I come to these podcasts sometimes and I'm like, I don't even know. I have like 10% battery and I don't even know what I'm going to talk about. It's funny, like I was thinking about identities and I'm like, I don't identify myself as a podcaster. I do a podcast, but if I look at how I identify myself as an athlete, which is fiercely prepared and organized, and I think about my training. I do neural priming. I visualize. I set my goals. I have this incredibly high standard. I have a stack of evidence about myself that I am who I am. I am absolutely 100% an athlete and have been for my whole life. I don't have that same fierceness and evidence about myself as a podcaster. Maybe after I've done 100, I'll be like, yeah, I'm a podcaster. I've got to get to 100. I've only done like 17. I have a long mountain to climb. But maybe if I started to lean in and say, I am a podcaster, then I would embody what that's like better. And actually doing this practice, I was like, where in my life do I have a deficit? Well, this is it. Here and now with you guys. But I'm also really grateful. And it's really easy for me to go, well, maybe I won't do this. Maybe I'll go back to competing because I've got relevance and I know how to do it and it's easy and there's things I still want to achieve and blah, blah, blah. It's like, no. We're going to do the hard thing. We're going to build some evidence somewhere else in our life. Because guess what? If at the end of this year, I look back and I'm like, I've done 50 episodes this year, I'm going to be so proud of myself. One of my favorite things to do when I get stuck in moments, when Those parts of me that want to take the path of least resistance, the easy way out, the comfort, because I'm so scared, or my belief system's wavering, or whatever it is, I'm still telling myself a story. I ask myself, how will I feel if I don't take that action? Or how will I feel if I don't do that thing? Or how will I feel if I take action on that? And future pacing is a really powerful tool. And I honestly encourage you to use that as a tool. In the moments when you're at the fork road of, do I stay the same or do I take the hard path? Do I stay the same or do I negotiate with myself or do I practice this thing called discipline? When I do the hard thing, when it's uncomfortable, when I'm tired, when I can give myself an entire thing of excuses of why I shouldn't take action, prep my meals, show up to the gym, get to bed on time, pre-plan my week, right? Ask yourself, well, how will I feel if I don't? Again, you come down to this thing called radical responsibility, which is, okay, if I don't want to do it, I'm going to own my decision. Because what happens is when we take the path of least resistance, then we beat ourselves with it. And then we have this emotional tax that we carry around for a few days. And then we just go, well, fuck it, I've done this. Instead of going, okay, I'm going to be radical responsible. Now, what we want to practice after doing these habits is make one executive decision around a practice, a behavior, an actionable item that you are going to do that ties you to the identity of the version of you that you want to become. Your life doesn't need an overhaul. It just needs small, consistent changes. And for some of you, the biggest change that will have the bang for buck is probably going to be the language that you use. What you say to yourself first thing in the morning. If you want to identify with a healthy person, or if you want to identify with a confident woman, you want to identify with a devoted woman, if you want to improve your relationship to yourself, then improve how you speak to yourself. And that's the first thing that we say. Now, you might use affirmations. Make sure you believe them. You might just choose to say, good morning. What are we going to practice today? Good morning. Got a big day ahead, but let's go. Instead of, oh my fucking God. Oh, I'm so tired. Oh my God, you look like shit. Oh my God. It's really easy to do that. Can we shift even this most subtle thing, which is like, well, how do you start your day? And then where in your life would you and could you incorporate the people around you? I'm not a mum and I bow to mothers. And I can only imagine how much energy they take. And that's why I bow to you, because I'm like, you're doing so many things. Where can you incorporate, some practices with the kids or your husband, or do you make an effort to put 10 minutes aside for yourself in the morning if you can? Now, I know for some women, like that is stretched, but we always have time and energy for things that are priority. So can you give yourself 10 minutes where you say, here and now, I am a priority. And it's not scrolling on your phone. It's something for yourself. It might be writing. It might be affirmations. It might be your to-do list. It might be a practice of how you like to speak to yourself. It might be organizing your food. It might be 10 minutes of steps in the morning. Whatever it is. Remember, identity, we identify with the habits we practice. Who are we now? Who do we want to be? What's the deficit? What is the bridge? The bridge is, what action am I willing and going to practice? To practice that when I do it, I embody X. If we notice that this practice, right, is feeling a lot, or there's a part of your life where you're like, I'm finding it hard to take action on her, we want to ask, like, What is it? What is the story that you tell yourself? Could it be held in the court of law, which is if you said that story out into the world and there was a judging panel and they're like, guilty or not guilty, what would that story be? And once you get it out on paper, I want you to ask yourself, is this true? Do I want to believe it? What if I didn't believe it? Who would I be if I didn't have that story? What could I practice if I didn't have that story? What would it be like if I said, thank you for serving me for X amount of years, but I'm ready to let you go? Because if we fight for our limitations, we get to keep them. What is a story that I would like to live by? What is a story that can help me practice forward? What would the first step look like for me to embody this version of me? And then how do we practice that? And how often do we want to practice that? And how often do I want to sit and reflect and measure myself? Because a question I often ask women is, how are you measuring success? Is it with yourself? Is it with someone you see online? Is it a woman that's told you a version of her story? Or is it like truly something that you can tangibly measure against yourself? Go, I am taking action. I'm doing this the best I can. Now, the word discipline is probably going to come up for a lot of you girls as you do this identity practice. And discipline is a really powerful word. Now, some of you might have a really healthy relationship with discipline. Some of you may not. Something we spoke about in the Flex Method community the other night was the idea and identity of discipline. Now, women, not just women, but I speak to a lot of women. We love to wear the word discipline like a badge of honor. I do. But discipline can also be detrimental when it's not met with self-compassion. And by high standard without self-compassion is just self-bullying. And some women walk the fine line of, is it discipline or is it self-punishment? Is it discipline or is it trying to be worthy? And as we want to shift and change and improve our identity of ourselves and become the better version of ourselves, it kind of means letting go of a previous version of ourselves or parts of it. And for a lot of women, that can feel really scary because how we measure our success internally is how much we can do. All like the 6-7 training sessions a week, no matter what, I make it to the gym. Now, to most people, you go, oh, you're so disciplined. But to her, who is exhausted, who's burnt out, who's craving results she's not getting, who it almost feels like a slave to her because if she doesn't go, she's told herself she's not good enough or she's failing. Will we say that's discipline or will we say that's a slave to a negotiation, a slave to worthiness, where it's no longer discipline, it's an attachment to self-worth, which is I identify with, I go to the gym 6 days a week, I'm the high achiever, I do this, I do this, I do this. I take care of the household, I run this, right? And we could list off all the identities that this person associates with and wear them like a badge of honor, like we all do. When I talk about all the shit I do in my day, I wear it like a badge of honor. I'm proud of the work that I do, but fuck, sometimes it's a lot. Don't worry, I'll do it. I'll just do it. Because women, I'm going to speak for myself, terrible at asking for help. Terrible. I'll just do it. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. So discipline can walk a fine line. This is why intentions are important too. For some of you, discipline is training less. For some of you, discipline is resting. For some of you, discipline is learning how to be flexible. The practice of adaptability, the practice of self-compassion, the practice of asking for help, the practice of naming boundaries. The practice of knowing your worth, of asking for more money in your career, of saying no to other people, to standing for yourselves when men make comments at you that you don't like. But you go, ha ha. And you walk away and you're like, who the fuck was that guy to say that to me? Like, discipline can come in many forms. And what separates, if it's discipline or if it's self-punishment, is the intention behind it. So maybe for some of you, the better version of you is to not be so rigid, to minimize all or nothing, to have more flexibility. And that doesn't mean you're becoming lazy or you're soft or you're losing your touch. It means that you're learning self-compassion. And in fact, when you do all the priorities and things that are required of you to be a mum, to be a wife, to be a best friend, to be in your career, and to look after your body and embody your body, you now have a healthier relationship with all those things and you show up better. And that's something that we see so often with our Women at Flex method. They now recognize that they show up just as a better human being. And that's not to dismiss that they don't have hard experiences of themselves. They're humans. I'm human. I have hard experiences myself. But they can zoom out and go, I've stepped into a version of myself that I didn't even know was possible. I would dream about her. I would imagine her. And now I am practicing her. I'm embodying her. I have this standard. It's not all or nothing. I show up better as a wife, a parent. I've got more compassion for clients or people I work with. But most importantly, I have more compassion for myself. So if all of this is your practice for the week, take some time. Do this stuff with your friends. Do it with your partner. If they're on the same road of self-development, do it with them. Get the practice, do it with them, align each other. Hey, where could we be better together? You know, I'm such a big fan of I'm fiercely, infatuated or interested in relationships. Our own relationship with self and our relationship with others. And we don't have to do this self-development thing on our own. You can, you're allowed to, you have pockets of it. But where can you do things together? The intimacy, the body touch. You might do it with yourself. Hey, you might do it with them. Like, we all know where it's going to go. And we all want that to happen. Can you do it with yourself? Hey, with your kids. Obviously, you're not going to do it naked, or you might, whatever, it's up to you. But hey, get them to start thanking their bodies for your young girls. The boys too. Why not? What a beautiful practice. The practice of today. Who are we showing up as now, as a couple? What do we want to practice doing together? Who do I want to show up here and now for myself? What's the better version of me? The version of me that one day I'm going to go, holy shit, I'm practicing her. And it's not this perfect moment, but you might notice how you are handling situations is so different from before. How you're naming your boundaries is so different than before. How you're stepping into a room, so different from before. You're not playing small, you walk in proud. Hey, when you go to the beach, you're not trying to cover up, you're embodying your body how it is. And it might not be because you're your smallest version of yourself. It might be you're in the middle of a build and you're like, I'm fucking strong right now. I am resilient. I am fit. I am capable. I'm looking after my nutrition. I haven't gone too flexible. Like, I'm doing all these things that I am showing up as an incredible athlete. And when I say an athlete, I'm not talking about people on stage. I'm talking about you in this moment building your body. And you go to the beach and it's summertime and everyone else is trying to be skinny and shredded and lean. And you're like, this is how I am in my season and I'm going to rock it. You know, I was thinking about this because Coben's gone away. I'm meeting him in Europe and I was laughing because I'm like, I have no interest in dieting at all. And, you know, I'm in a build. I'm very conservative. I'm fiercely robotic. And, a beautiful side of that is I get to embody my body all the time. Whether it's bigger, whether it's smaller, it doesn't change my relationship to it. Funny enough, when I'm like super lean, I go out, sometimes I'm like, oh, I should put a shirt on. But now I'm like, I'm just going to wear this body because I embody the body. I embody my body. For some of us, for most of us, maybe for all of us, that ability to not have to be tied to a season before self-worth kicks in, damn, like that's the embodiment. Can we practice that? And guess where it comes from? Not what we see in the mirror, but how we treat ourselves. The habits and behaviors we're practicing, which we identify with and we build evidence about who we are. And we say, I am who I say I am. I am practicing being her. And I'm so clear on what she looks like. And again, we're human beings. It ebbs and flows. Some days we think we're killing it. Some days we're not. And guess what? Capacity. But if we can zoom out, no matter how we feel, and go, I'm unmotivated, but I'm still doing X, Y, Z. Or I'm a little bit unmotivated because I'm cutting corners here. Guess what you get to do? Own your shit, hold the line, pick things up. We know that after one split decision of taking action on things that are important to us, we feel empowered. And that empowerment gets stronger and builds up the more and more that we do it. So I hope today was an enjoyable episode. You know, I always love your feedback. Please feel free to reach out to me at any time. If you love this episode, please share it. I really, really, really appreciate everyone who is sharing my episodes online. I really want to get this podcast up and out there. And I hope that everything that I share is really useful to you. And if there's any episodes that you have that you're like, God, I think my friend would really benefit from that, please send it to them. Please let me know if you love it. Please make sure you're following. And if you want to give it a rating, also do that. Remember, everyone, we have two hands, one for helping ourselves, one for helping others. And I hope you guys have a wonderful week.